I have some bad news.
From Bruno Guimaraes dropping an unexpected bombshell on his Newcastle future, to Garang Kuol shining for Australia, to a recent development on Newcastle's search for a new sporting director, to Newcastle United addressing the big six elephant in the room. Join us as we break it all down.
Let's go.
Starting off, Garang Kuol, who is currently on loan at FC Volendam, recently scored a penalty for Australia's under-23 team in their WAF semi-final win against Egypt to help his team reach the finals, in which they will face South Korea. Despite Garang Kuol continuously showcasing his brilliance at the international scene. However, his loan spell at Volendam has been relatively unproductive, with limited playing time and only 1 goal and 1 assist in 15 appearances. In contrast, Minte, another Newcastle player out on loan, has been experiencing a successful spell at Feyenoord as he is getting plenty of game time but also contributing with goals and assists. Considering Kuol's lack of minutes and modest statistical output during his loan in Holland, it's understandable to think about bringing him back to Newcastle and giving him an opportunity to showcase his abilities under the guidance of new manager Eddie Howe at the training ground. The upcoming Australian tour could also serve as a boost for him, as playing in his home country might provide added motivation and support. Then moving on, Newcastle United CEO Darren Eales recently addressed the club's plans to transform into a world-class and sustainable organization in the upcoming years. During an inaugural meeting with the Fan Advisory Board, FAB, Eales expressed the club's ambition to establish a results-driven culture. The objective is to consistently achieve top 6 finishes in the league and secure major trophies within the next 5 years, with this goal extending to both the men's and women's teams. We're going to build a results-driven, world-class, sustainable organization that consistently achieves top 6 status for men's and women's teams and wins major trophies within the next 5 years, Eales said. Eales also highlighted the growth in revenue that the club has experienced over the past 2 seasons. However, he acknowledged the significant gap that exists between Newcastle United and the so-called Big Six clubs in terms of resources and competitiveness. Despite this challenge, he emphasized that the club's priority is to maintain their presence at St. James's Park, and ongoing feasibility tests are being conducted to assess the viability of this objective. The club's revenue growth over the last 2 seasons and into this season has been incredible. Off the pitch, because we started from a low revenue base, we are still a long way behind the top 6 in the Premier League. Since we can only spend a percentage of revenue, we always look to spend the maximum we can on the team within profit and sustainability rules, PSR. This means it is vital that we look at ways to raise revenue streams, whether through match day, St. James's stack, commercial partnerships, retail or merchandise, tours, hospitality and events. The priority is to stay at St. James's Park, but we know there are challenges around development. So we have employed experts to assess what is feasible from an engineering and financial perspective. By articulating the club's aspirations and addressing the need for sustained growth and improvement, Eales demonstrates Newcastle United's commitment to long-term success. The intention to compete at the highest level and bridge the gap with the established elite clubs reflects the ambition of the organization. The CEO's engagement with the Fan Advisory Board further emphasizes the importance of involving supporters in the club's decision-making processes and keeping them informed about the club's plans and progress. Then, recent reports suggest that Rui Pedro Braz, currently the sporting director at Benfica, has been interviewed as a potential replacement for Dan Ashworth at Newcastle United. Several media outlets in Portugal and England, including The Times, have reported on these claims. It has been 5 weeks since Newcastle United confirmed that Ashworth had been placed on gardening leave, indicating his eventual departure from the club. The Mail previously reported that Odgers Berntsen, a globally recognized recruitment firm specializing in executive search and talent assessment, was leading the search for Ashworth's successor as the sporting director at Newcastle United. The club is believed to have engaged their services to identify the best possible candidates and gauge their interest in the position. Rui Pedro Braz, a 45-year-old with 3 years of experience as the sporting director at Benfica, has emerged as a potential candidate. However, the report also mentions other names, including former Monaco sporting director Paul Mitchell, Brentford duo Phil Giles and Lee Dykes, and former Roma chief Thiago Pinto. It is indicated that the list of potential candidates extends beyond these mentioned individuals. Darren Eales, Newcastle United CEO, had earlier said, "We are naturally disappointed that Dan has chosen to leave. However, our exciting journey doesn't stop, and the process to recruit a new sporting director will begin immediately. We thank Dan for his efforts at Newcastle United and we wish him and his family well for the future." So as the search for Dan Ashworth's replacement continues, Newcastle United appears to be actively exploring options and engaging reputable recruitment specialists to identify and secure a suitable sporting director. The ultimate decision will likely depend on the club's evaluation of the candidate's qualifications, experience, and compatibility with Newcastle's long-term vision and objectives. Then, Bruno Guimaraes has expressed his happiness at the club but has acknowledged that he will eventually move on in the future. Although Bruno signed a new 5-year contract with Newcastle in October, it is understood that the deal includes a release clause. Under the management of Eddie Howe, Newcastle has made progress, moving away from the relegation zone, reaching a cup final for the first time since 1999, and qualifying for the Champions League after more than 2 decades. Despite this, Bruno has described the season as disappointing, with Newcastle currently occupying 10th place in the league and having faced injury issues. However, he stated that he was aware of the challenges when he joined the club and suggested that things may have progressed too quickly. In an interview with Brazilian media, Bruno mentioned that it has always been his dream to play in the Premier League, and he is very happy to be part of one of the best leagues in the world. He expressed his intention to play for Newcastle for a long time, but also mentioned that he has other goals to pursue in the future, indicating a potential move elsewhere. However, he emphasized his gratitude towards Newcastle and his immediate focus on helping the team secure European football through a strong finish to the season. "It's always been my dream to play here," he told Brazilian media. "I've always followed the Premier League. It was always my dream to be here. I think ever since I joined Newcastle, everything has been good in my life, professionally and personally. I'm very happy to be playing amongst the best in the best league in the world. I absolutely plan to play here for a long time. I have other goals as well of moving, but this is something more down the line. I'm really happy to be here in the league."
How's my son?
He's going to be all right.
Oh,
Thank God.
finally, some good news
There's
from
no
this
other way
guy.
to take that.
That's a great attitude. I gotta tell you, if I was getting this news, I don't know that I'd take it this well.
But you said he was all right.
Yes, he's lost his left hand, so he's going to be all right.
You son of a... I hate this doctor!
While Bruno's comments indicate his contentment at Newcastle at present, the club will undoubtedly aim to retain him as a key player. The prospect of European football and the team's performance will likely play a role in determining whether Bruno decides to stay or seek new challenges in the future. Talking about the league position, despite their struggles during the 2023-24 season under Eddie Howe, Newcastle United still have a chance of securing European football. Currently sitting in 10th place in the Premier League table, they are 4 points behind 7th-placed West Ham, who hold the final guaranteed European spot. Newcastle also have a game in hand over West Ham due to their involvement in the FA Cup, which concluded recently against Manchester City. If Newcastle were to finish 7th, they would secure a place in the Europa Conference League, which represents a significant downgrade compared to their Champions League campaign this season. However, participating in any form of European competition can still bring in additional revenue, which could assist the club in adhering to financial fair play, FFP regulations. But tell me, which position do you predict Newcastle will finish at?